This may really be our last chance to accumulate Near Protocol this cheap because there are essentially some massive upgrades happening to the network that you definitely can take advantage of, pretty much meaning we won't see token prices this cheap ever again. So in this video, I'm going to give you my bullish features as well as the usual price prediction. Now, of course, in my usual fashion, let's touch on some of the basic stuff first. So the current price per token is $1.96. Its all-time low was about 3.7x down from where it is now at 53 cents when it kind of first launched. And its recent all-time high was at $20.42, a 10x from today's prices. Now, when we're talking about value for money, when's a good time to buy? Well, as close as the ICO as possible, right? The ICO was about 40 cents. But in saying that, this level right here would have been a great time to accumulate at the start of the year. But, of course, we can't go back in time. So let's talk about right now, right? So if you can buy Near Protocol in whatever circumstance at between these levels, I would highly encourage you, not financial advice, to do so, okay? Current price, 95 cents, right? The market cap was about $1.7 billion. And if we were to sink down to 75 cents, the market cap would have to be less than half of that, right? 670 million. That'd be a 62% drop, but what a great time to buy, okay? Conversely, the market cap, it's in red because that's kind of where I would say to you guys, look, that's as far as I'm going to go. If it doesn't hit between these levels, I'm not going to buy in. But you can do, of course, what you like. The market cap at this point would be 1.5 billion. So slightly about 200 million less from where we are now. Definitely feasible. I think there's going to be some huge downturn in the market soon. That's at least my prediction. So this will be a great time to obviously look at to buy, of course. Now, what's my 2025 and 2029 price prediction? Well, to start off with, what was the 2021 bull market? This is what I kind of use to estimate demand in the future, okay? So demand back then was at $12.3 billion at the very peak of the last bull market, okay? The supply was only 614 million tokens, giving us the price of $20.40, right? Fast forward to 2025, I'm estimating, this is my prediction, okay? 50 billion market cap, aka 4x the previous all-time high, and supply will be about 1.2 billion tokens, okay? Putting the price at about $41, which is a 21x from here. Now, again, fast forward to 2029, this is where the real magic stuff happens, right? Of course, to find a price per token, we have to kind of guess the hard part, which is demand. Now, I like to give minimum and maximums ideally for this, and you guys can kind of decide where it's going to fit in between. But I'm guessing a minimum of 8x from its all-time high from last bull market, putting the so-called market cap at about $98.4 billion, and on the higher side, a 20x from its all-time high, putting the market cap at $246 billion. Now, of course, if we can find supply, we can find price, right? So the supply at that point will be about 1.58 billion tokens. Now, I want to say one of the slides will mention a burn mechanism. This does not include a burn mechanism, so likely there will be less tokens in circulation at this point, of course. So 2029 minimum, I'm guessing a $62 token, and on the other side of it, $156 token on the max side of it. Right now, I have some supporting evidence for this, of course, very briefly, right? This is the market dominance chart from Near Protocol. This is the market value of Near versus the entire market as a percentage, okay? So at the very, very top of its previous all-time high, actually, technically, this was the very, very top. This was the dip after the very top. It had about a 0.59% market dominance. That is quite strong for a project back then that was very, very young, okay? So the global market cap at that point was $1.92 trillion, and Near was about $11.78 billion. Now, if you are one of them people like me that estimate the market cap will probably at least 5x from here, aka have a $10 trillion market cap, well, this would put, considering that Near resembles the same sort of percentage, aka 0.59%, it'll spit out at $59 billion. So actually more than my prediction, which means the price will be more than my prediction, but also there are some huge events literally happening around or just before the time of the peak of the next bull market that will probably push this as close to 1%. So we might even see a more precious token, right? So how, Kyron, and what are these indicators that are making you so bullish on Near Protocol? Well, the first one, of course, is Web3 Gateway. This is huge, and this was actually recently announced from Near. Now, they kind of had their idea of what they wanted to do, onboard 1 million users to Web3, that's the whole sort of thing. But from what I kind of gathered, they didn't really have a clear call to action. There was never like, this is what we're doing, but now they have, right? And it's called the Blockchain Operating System, kind of like quants in a weird way, right? So it's now the network's USP, and it's an industry first. Literally, it is called a blockchain operating system, or BOS. For short. So NEAR will become a BOS, no pun intended, maybe it was, allowing the end users to frictionlessly discover Web3 while empowering devs to create code extremely easily, especially in JavaScript. There's about 15 million JavaScript developers out there. This is fantastic, right? Now, mass market. This is who NEAR Protocol is trying to pretty much target. They want to be that first step into Web3. It's very, very complicated, right? It's a very hard industry to get your head around. NEAR wants to be that easy sort of step between people from Web 2 to Web 3, right? So mass market, there is an inherent barrier to entry for the average person. NEAR is planning to solve this with the blockchain operating system, right? It is a Web 3 base layer. You can almost think HTTPS, right? Having this imagine this ground framework where people can develop dApps very, very simply in a few lines of code with JavaScript, kind of like they do in Web 2, right? Easily accessible, and also easily accessible for end users. Imagine having one place where we could access all the networks in a very simple interface. Your grandmother could come on and navigate it herself, and internet connecting with everything. Again, think like Quant for crypto, right? The Web3 version of Quant. It's incredible stuff, of course, okay? So everything in one place, of course, for developers and end users. And now also, one bullish thing about NEAR is they actually have a layer 2 solution, or a shard, called Aurora and Octopus. So Aurora is an EVM environment. You can just port over your smart contracts that are EVM compatible, and then you pretty much have Ethereum on NEAR. It's fantastic, right? Cheap fees, fast transactions, fast settlement, right? You also have Octopus Network. These guys are fantastic. They're a substrate environment on NEAR. They're pretty much like you can create your own applications on Octopus as well as Aurora that leverage substrate, right? So you can connect with Polkadot, Kusama, so on and so forth. They're also IBC as well, which means that they can connect with Cosmos and all the Cosmos IBC connected networks. Bullish. NEAR has its reach far and wide. Fantastic, right? Now, this is what I call my prosperity wheel. I'm coming out, this is patent pending, with a better version of this, but this is more or less what I want you guys to understand, because this is going to save you a lot of time in investing, right? So essentially, the further in you go into this circle, the better or faster the ROI in the short term, right? Conversely, the further you go on the out, the more powerful, aka the more demand it will eventually have. It takes a bit longer, of course, but it's more powerful. Now, we've got Web 2 solutions active now. We've got Web 3 solving Web 2 ineffectively, at least right now. This is like Hedera and Algorand, and I'm putting NEAR Protocol in this list. Now, when NEAR Protocol eventually achieves its ultimate goal, such as Hedera and also Algorand do, they will then be in this outer rim with Render and also Quant, okay? And we can go in further and further. It's going to be too much to explain in this video, but I hope you guys get the idea. They are trying to get the mass market involved into Web3, which is currently just mind-blowingly complicated, right? So we have Nightshade. This is the bullish feature that I was talking to you about moments ago, right? So Nightshade isn't fully out yet, but when it is, it's going to allow the network to be forever scalable, right? Nightshade is a unique sharding approach that allows the network to be almost infinitely scalable with demand. No network can be infinitely scalable. There is a tipping point because you have the problem with nodes, right? Also, Nightshade is essentially the backbone, right? So it's what separates NEAR Protocol from its competitors. It's USP beneath the USP. It's what makes it all work, right? And I've done a deep review on NEAR Protocol actually twice. So you guys can go ahead and up here, I think I get confused all the time, and watch that deep dive. It will tell you all you need to know about Nightshade in a very easy to follow manner, okay? Now, the rollout. This is the important part you need to know and mark in your calendars. Now, we're in phase 3, which is the third and final phase, which should be complete in Q4 of 2024, which is the middle of the bull market, right? So very important. This will be when demand is blowing up. Everyone's talking about projects. And if you get into NEAR Protocol before this happens, i.e. like right and early, okay, now not financial advice, you'll be able to ride this wave and everyone will be like buying in. It's essentially their mainnet, right? It's a huge upgrade. It is the biggest upgrade you can have in a project besides obviously mainnet. So yeah, it's going to be big stuff, right? Now, this means that a surge in demand will happen in Q4 of 2022, which is the bull market. So be prepared. Again, mark it in your calendars. Have your hedge into it now is what I'm trying to say, right? But obviously anything can happen as crypto. I'm not guaranteeing you returns. I'm just saying, everything is lining up, okay? Now, developers, right? NEAR Protocol has the 8th largest number of full-time devs, okay? 618 monthly active devs. We have 2 million commits, which is huge, and about 6,000 repos. Again, that's quite big. Right now, it beats ICP, Cardano, Binance, Arbitrum, Avalanche, and Optimism. So this is very important, right? There's currently 1,100 projects currently on Near Protocol, and this is an integral part of what I call the layer 1 flywheel, which then means once applications have been created from the developers and obviously from their hard work from the dApps, it will create utility for the end users, which will then bring the community into the project. If a project misses that important aspect, they will suffer. Might not be now, but it would definitely happen, okay? But Near definitely is ticking the boxes there, okay? Now, it's also carbon neutral. This is a very important aspect when you're talking about creating the future projects, right? Creating a future technology, because this is being pushed in our faces. Projects that are carbon neutral, carbon negative, are going to be prioritized. It's just as simple as that, right? So definitely right now, and they probably will be going to carbon negative at some point, they're carbon neutral right now. So it has been fairly audited by a company called South Pole, which are a leader in climate solutions, okay? Now, they actually audited all aspects of Near, not just the network. They audited the foundation, the validators, the team, and all the devs. And Near has turned out to be 200 times more carbon efficient than Bitcoin, producing only 174 tons of CO2 per annum, okay? Now, they're also, because they're carbon neutral, they help with reforestation. So they plant trees in Colombia, Zimbabwe, and the US with the transaction fees from the network. Now, again, it aligns with ESG, or environmental, social, and governance. They are the WEF approved. Now, I don't like the WEF. I don't think anyone does, but it is the narrative you need to take to be a project, looking for the best possible outcome in the future. Of course, very important. Now, also future supply. So Near actually is inflationary. There's 1 billion tokens that were minted at Genesis and dispersed to different entities with a 5% inflation rate. Now, those dispersions are actually quite ethical. I want to give Near full credit here. The distribution schedule is very easy to read. Anyone can read it. It's very simple to understand. And also, they were quite strict, right? They had a very, very strict distribution. They encouraged smaller venture capitalists to get in over larger ones because they wanted them to stake for nodes, okay? So that's quite important. You don't really see that very often. Also, they were focusing on VCs that had long-term orientation. They're looking in for the longevity of the project. And also, they didn't offer any more tokens, at least to one entity, more than 3.5% of the max supply, and most aren't over 1%. So again, they were definitely very picky, which is good to see, right? Now, burn, baby, burn. Get this, 70%, yes, 70% of every transaction is burned, which actually would, if you work that out, it would have to produce 1.25 billion transactions per day at 11,000 TPS sustained over a 24-hour period to become deflationary. But I'm going to pretty much say I expect this to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, right? Because they're already pushing a fair amount of transactions already, okay? And when they want to scale to this full vision, which I can finally see now, it's just going to be phenomenal. So let's actually have a look at what they're producing right now. Let's look at some on-chain data. Now, nodes, there's currently 214 validating, 733 on standby, okay? This is very important for the sharding approach. Right now, they can't onboard a whole heap of nodes, okay? But this will eventually swell, and more will be able to validate, of course. Now, there is very, very low fees on the network. Daily transactions is 365,000 on average. That is quite important, especially for a bear market, right? Remember, the network is also very juvenile. It hasn't come out with its actual USP yet, right? The main feature that makes Near so promising, so that's very key. 14,000 new accounts per day, 47,000 active accounts per day, and there's a total of 24.5 million accounts, which is phenomenal, right? Now, there is a 65% token holdings in the top 100 wallets, which, might I say, is actually quite a good dispersion, considering this also includes all the VCs and all those big players in the distribution. Again, props to Near for that, okay? Now, DeFi TVL, quite small, only $37 million. This is on Near, right? And the block height is about 90.4 million blocks since Genesis, which don't really mean much to most of us, right? Anyway, guys, look, if you did want to learn more about Near, again, I'll push through this really quickly because it is a lot of content, but there is so much more to talk about. Moral of the story, get your bags packed. If you have conviction in this project, now is the time to sit down for 10 minutes and think about what you want to do. Again, look for those accumulation levels. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Again, if you want to watch my reviews on Near, they're up here. All right, guys, take care.